Welcome to the last public segment of our workshop here in Waterloo. The rest will be on Patreon.
Taylor Jackson.
Shooting 67 weddings last year.
Taylor Jackson, welcome.
So Taylor, you are well known in this community. You're an amazing photographer.
All right, so the next video is booking more weddings, and we're gonna get deeper in this in the Patreon section of this workshop, which is gonna be 7 videos. So this is the last of the videos that are gonna be up here on YouTube, and the rest are going to all be on Patreon. So we're gonna get really heavy into the marketing and sales and business aspects of things. All right, the most important thing, I guess, to know or to take away from this is that you can no longer compete on just being the best photographer, that everyone does really good work now. And the startup process, it used to be that you could just, I don't know, like, you could buy a camera and it would still be 2 or 3 years before you could create images on a professional level. But now give somebody like a Sony a7 III and a 50mm lens, and they can probably go out and be creating great images after watching like 10 YouTube videos, and they can make stuff that is pretty good. So you can't compete just on having good work now, or having, like it used to be that specifically, like if you had an Iceland wedding in your portfolio, that you were the best photographer in your town, in your city, wherever, that was like the thing. There aren't really any hacks like that. And if there are those hacks, they only last for like a very brief period of time. Everyone does really good work. Everybody kind of understands the concepts of hopefully building their own portfolio and creating good work that they actually want to exist, rather than just waiting for it to naturally find them. Your pricing in words that you stress about, I feel like I stress about this, and when people don't get back to me, I'm like, oh, why'd they ghost? Like, was it because I said this instead of this, or this instead of this, or my pricing, like, should I change the packages? And especially in the beginning when I was not getting very many inquiries, it was very much a struggle to, like, that if one inquiry would come in every 2 weeks or every week or whatever it was, that if that inquiry ghosted, I would have 2 weeks to overthink what was wrong. Why did they not get back to me? Was it my pricing? Was it whatever? And it turns out that like it was because that day their uncle had offered to do their wedding for free, and their uncle's a good photographer, or whatever it might be. So don't stress too much about just like trying to, I don't know, like when people don't get back to you, just understand that there are a lot of variables, that it's potentially not you, that there are a lot of different things going on in the world. But know that like whatever you're writing, it's not going to be the thing that sets you apart really anymore. The easiest way to book more work, and this is going to be, I guess, a big thing that sounds like a small sentence, but basically becoming a media personality in your local area. I have seen a lot of people do this, and we call it like the quote unquote influencers or whatever. It feels like a bad word, but basically by becoming some sort of media personality in your local area and actually being some sort of authority in your local market, really just kind of like across the board, not necessarily in the photography space only, really does position you in a way that is so much different from everyone else, that everyone else is competing just on creating great wedding images and trying to do like a little bit of social media. But if you really work hard at becoming a media personality, and what that means is like creating video content for your local area. We did a food show that was really successful, and basically nobody told us to do it. We were just like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we did a local food show? We have cameras, we can just go make it happen. And we got some friends together and we went out and we did it. And locally, it's still one of the biggest things that actually refers me weddings, is that somebody's mom has watched our food show and sends us a note based on that. And like they get their daughter or son to send in an inquiry. And then I meet the mom at the wedding, and it's like, oh yeah, I watched your food show. And it's a silly thing, but it was fun to make. And it was, again, one of those unique and strange experiences that I enjoy doing with my friends. So that's kind of like, again, my quintessential thing. And yeah, it worked out. So by just doing simple projects like that, you can position yourself in a way that's different from a lot of other people. The other huge benefit of creating work, specifically work that is good for your community, is that you're going to get organically featured in a lot of places that other photographers aren't really looking at, that everybody wants to be in, like the local wedding magazines. But there's a lot of places that really are undiscovered when it comes to wedding photographers, that we're not trying to get on local television. We're not trying to get on the local like news radio. But those are all very good venues to just get your voice on, and also have the as seen on to add extra credibility to you as a local professional. We'll get a little bit more into that in a few minutes. Becoming a media personality, and to really just be creating good work in your community and useful stuff and things that people actually want to engage with and to share organically, because everybody has some level of passion for their own community. And if you do a cool project, there's a pretty good chance that's going to get pretty organically shared over time by people that actually are like, cool, like this is like a very interesting thing that happened down the street from me. I've been to this restaurant, I've been to this coffee shop, that people are going to be a lot more likely to share that. And if you have a good message and you have yourself branded properly, if it's coming from your own personal photography page or whatever, it really just does a lot of good things for your business across all genres. And what happened, I guess, initially was that we did a documentary about startups here, and I had kind of an option at that time that I could have easily just become a professional commercial videographer. Like I could have made videos for startups probably all around the world. It would have started here, and we could have kind of parlayed that into other stuff, or maybe even we talked about the idea of making video projects in exchange for equity of new companies to do their Kickstarter videos or whatever. There were a lot of opportunities, and those all became available because we just made stuff for our local community, and we had people reaching out to us and to do branding sessions and to make videos for their small businesses and to come film an episode of their food show here. And you really just kind of get a lot of spread by making good projects for your community. Educating your audience in a way that no one else does locally. You're a local business and you don't have to compete with everyone online. I mentioned this in one of the videos before. You already have a lot of help because there's all these wedding magazines that have already created a lot of good content and tested that content, and you can see which ones get shared the most. And if you go in and you're like, cool, so these people wrote a thing about like 10 things you need to know about getting married here or having like a vineyard wedding, and that did really, really well. There's lots of traction. If you kind of take that to your own blog and you come up with 5 things you need to know about your vineyard wedding, and you pull from specific venues that you've been to that are local that people identify with, and you're able to create a lot of good content based on that, it really will just, one, it's going to keep people on your website or watching your videos for longer, and 2, it's going to create valuable stuff for the internet. And I feel like organically good stuff always gets shown over time a lot better. That you can do some like quick hacks to get your page listed number 1 on Google or on the first page in Google, but to keep it there over a long period of time, you do have to be creating some sort of value for the internet. So tailor basically everything to your local audience. That if you see a cool headline, write that headline down on your phone and go make a video about it, go make a blog post about it, or go make a video and then embed that video on your blog post about it so it's even more searchable. I think an important thing is video to get comfortable. I know that we're all afraid to go in front of a video camera, but I'm going to say 5-10 years from now, when everybody that is currently growing up on things like Messenger, on like Snapchat, and able to easily communicate with a camera or communicate with their phone, I feel like a lot of people are going to be very, very good at telling their story online in front of video, and a lot of us are going to get left behind. So if you're watching this now, you have like probably a 4-year head start to start this now and to get at least a little bit comfortable. Like everything's a building process. Nobody's going to be amazing. Nobody's like that quintessential newscaster, but just like finding your own stride and just working over and over again. To get good on camera, start now and just work at it every single day. My buddy Greg, he lives in Orlando, and he essentially was terrible on video, and then he started doing daily videos every single day, and they were simple. They're at the time it was like with a flip camera, and it was just one camera, record, talk for a little bit, hit record or hit off, and that was all he did for pretty much an entire year. At the end of that year, he went from being somebody that was just, I don't know, like probably wouldn't have hired him to be any sort of video media coach, but by the end of it, he was very good. He saw what resonated. He saw what people connected with, and it wasn't necessarily that always 100% polished personality and like a perfect studio set. That people wanted to see real life. They wanted to see things they could identify with, and he understood that, and he brought that into just creating more and more content. So in order to figure out what works, you got to go out there and you got to start making the stuff. I think I just said that. Yeah. See what connects, carry it forward into similar. You can also kind of part out or create smaller versions of everything. So if you create a long video, that you can make pieces of that into your Instagram story, you can upload it to YouTube, you can upload it to Facebook, you can make a blog post about it. If you don't want to do all these things, you can hire somebody to do all those things for you. And just by creating one piece of content and having maybe 5-10 other pieces of content instantly created from that one video, you really kind of just, I guess, expedite how much stuff that one video can do. So it makes it a lot easier to get in the space to be like, I need to create this video, because when I create this video, I see that it's going to end up in 10 places, and that gives me a little more of a push than just creating one video and having to just like upload it to YouTube where it's going to be ignored or whatever, which all of my videos were for pretty much 10 years. Tim nodded. He appreciates it. Make yourself more useful than the local wedding magazine. You can simply, you can become your local wedding magazine if you want. There's no barrier to entry on that. That if you want to make your blog, you want to make your photography website into your local wedding magazine, you want to make it more valuable, you want to have a show where you bring on people that, you have a podcast or a video show or whatever it might be, that you can just go out and start building that right now. And if you can bring more business to your friends and other people in the industry, they're going to be very happy to take part in that or to promote that for you, or really it'll just go a long way kind of across the entire board. It seems like a big task, but success in this industry means really kind of that unlimited time freedom and the fact that you get to live your dream life. So it's worth putting in the hard work, and even if you're working for not a lot of money in the beginning, it is worth it over time. All right, rest of the workshop's going to be over on Patreon. Tim's excited that this section, that we're halfway through this process. Gonna have to do the rest another day because it's
We got another hour.
okay. We got another hour. My voice is. I'll get some tea and we'll continue. So the rest is going to head over to Patreon, and these are the 7 Patreon videos that we're going to be doing. If you're watching this live stream, they won't be up right yet. They're going to be up in March. All these videos are going to be up there in March, so you're able to just instantly have access to all of them. Plus, you get the replay of all of this as well, whereas this is going to be slow drip to YouTube, but you'll instantly get it all over on Patreon. There's a lot of things I'm excited about. Specifically, the thing I'm most excited about is Instagram and Facebook ads and what everyone's been doing wrong, as well as the updated preferred vendor tutorial. So there's a lot of good stuff to come, and you also get access to 150 plus other videos, all kinds of things. I think there's 42 episodes of the podcast, as well as all my presets and my pricing documents. And we did the pricing month last month, and we did hybrid photography the month before. And there's all kinds of stuff up there. Take a look. It's definitely the best value in wedding photography education. Right, Tim?
That's right. I got a question from Darius surrounding that.
All right, Tim has one more question from Darius.
He wants to know if you're going to do any portfolio or photo reviews on Patreon.
So Patreon photo reviews. I forget how many. It would have been last year. I did website portfolio reviews, and I think I did 7 hours of them. So I did pretty much everyone that put their website in, which was a bit of an undertaking. It was a couple of days. What I gathered from that was that a lot of my suggestions kind of all came back to doing the same thing. So I made a video that summarized all of the things that I was typically seeing across kind of the entire board for everyone, and made that into a video. So that's on Patreon right now, but if you want to look at it.
Another question here.
One more.
Shane Everett Henry wants to know. What's the best way to confront a local business to engage them in doing a local project for the community?
What is the best way to engage a local business into doing a project? I would say the best way is to really just go in. One, it's nice if you at least have a mutual friend in common. It's a lot easier to get an introduction, or even an Instagram introduction, where you just are put in the same Facebook or the same Instagram group, and it's hey, this is my buddy who makes good videos. That's enough to at least get you to walk in the door and to be a little bit known. I think cold emailing and I think DMing people is going to be challenging to get some great responses, but I think if you just actually go in and you're able to talk with the business owner, I know pretty much in our downtown area here, on any given day, the owner and or the general manager, if they're kind of owner level, is probably in at some point, either in the morning or in the evening. Don't go in peak time. If it's a restaurant, don't go in over dinner. But you can probably go into most places and find some sort of partner in the business or the general manager most days. And just by showing face and talking to them, and I feel just being a normal human and mentioning hey, I'd love to do a video profile, or coming up with a bigger project is always a good way to get in. For our documentary, basically what we did was we were hey, we're gonna do this this documentary about startups in our local area, and we just started reaching out to people, and everybody just said yes, because they're yeah, that sounds awesome, I want to be featured. So maybe making it a bigger project than just hey, we want to do a feature on your local business because we see the value in creating this video for you, by being hey, we want to do 10 videos that kind of showcase what's going on in the downtown core right now and what's new in whatever you're interested in. If those also cross over into weddings. That's awesome. So if there's some venues that like also do weddings, that if you're able to create promotional material for them across all levels, it's obviously good. But I would say just by going in and coming up with like a big kind of overarching project to at least start work on. And I feel like that's another good way to just end up in the media and like the newspaper and stuff like that all around your city, to also, again, give you those links back to credibility that you can carry forward as seen on page on your website. All right. Moving into the Patreon content.